Catherine McPhee there, who's of course the wife of David Foster, it was their event, was talking to Meghan in the first picture. But Meghan was more interested in her husband, David Foster. So sweeps her arm across to Harry, completely blocking Catherine.
She was deliberately blocking her because she was transfixed on David with that big, feral sort of grin that she has.
Don't you remember why the Fosters and Meghan had a falling out? Meghan hitting on David like a feral cat.
David Foster has finally spoken out about the red carpet moment that made Meghan Markle look brutally ignored. But instead of ending the drama, his explanation has only pushed another, even more awkward clip into the spotlight. Because while David insists he did not snub Meghan at his gala, people are now staring at the interaction right beside him and asking a completely different question. Why did Catherine McPhee seem to disappear behind Meghan while Meghan turned her attention toward Catherine's husband?
These two images together, it looks like Catherine, now you're referring to Catherine McPhee there, who's of course the wife of David Foster, it was their event, was talking to Meghan in the first picture. But Meghan was more interested in her husband, David Foster. So sweeps her arm across to Harry, completely blocking Catherine. You can just see her mouth above Meghan's left shoulder. Perhaps the photos are out of order, but it wouldn't put it past Meghan to actually do that.
That is where this night suddenly gets messy. The original story was simple. Meghan reached an arm toward David Foster. David kept walking, and seconds later, he appeared far warmer with Prince Harry. It looked terrible in a freeze frame.
When you also saw this video on the red carpet, there definitely looked like there was tension.
Meghan reaches. David passes. Harry gets the smile. Meghan is left standing there. For days, that tiny clip was treated like another public rejection. Now, David says that is not what happened at all.
There's been an excuse released as to why he didn't look at Meghan.
Yes, go on.
They've said sources, and this hasn't been confirmed by David Foster's team, but sources have spoken to the Daily Mail, shocker, and said that he was very excited that Harry and Meghan would be in there, but he just couldn't see them. On the carpet, literally on the spot where he was meeting other guests with the cameras, they've probably got the marker on the carpet, guests stand here for your photographs to be taken, and he apparently didn't see her. Now, this makes me laugh, Dan, because Meghan recently has just basically called Martha Stewart senile because she couldn't have heard her as she was confused, and now they've turned around and said about this, oh, David Foster didn't see them.
According to his explanation, he had already greeted Meghan and Harry before that moment. So, there was no reason for another big greeting in front of the cameras. He rejected the idea that he intentionally ignored Meghan and made it clear there was no secret hostility hiding behind those few seconds. Fine. That knocks a huge hole in the most dramatic version of the snub story, but it does absolutely nothing to explain the other footage.
They were greeting the couple on the carpet. So David Foster and Catherine McPhee, obviously, they are the hosts. And Meghan turned her back to her regardless, whether she just come on the carpet to meet her or whether she was deliberately blocking her because she was transfixed on David with that big, feral sort of grin that she has.
Before we continue, I want to mention something really quick. Organizing your family's important information is one of those things most of us know we should do, but we keep putting it off. That's exactly why there's the Family Vault. It gives you one place to organize your important documents, insurance, medical information, passwords, and more, so everything is easy to find when it's needed. You'll find the link in the description, or you can scan the QR code on your screen. That's all. Now, let's get back to today's story. Because almost right beside that supposedly harmless walk-past moment is the scene people cannot stop dissecting. Catherine McPhee is involved in the interaction. Meghan turns toward David. Her arm moves across the space. And suddenly, Catherine, David's own wife, and one of the hosts of the night, is partly hidden behind Meghan.
Catherine McPhee was one of those Meghan's friends in high school. She was in a lower grade. She wasn't on Meghan Markle's radar until she married David Foster, who has a fortune estimated at $150 million.
And that image has reopened an old accusation people had already attached to Meghan and David, that Meghan once seemed a little too interested in him. To be clear, a few seconds of red carpet footage do not prove flirting. They do not prove jealousy. They do not tell us what Meghan was thinking. But that is almost beside the point. When the visual itself looks this awkward, Catherine is standing there. Meghan shifts toward David. Catherine gets blocked. Cameras catch the exact second.
Don't you remember why the Fosters and Meghan had a falling out? Meghan hitting on David like a feral cat on heat.
And as for the clip with David Foster blanking her on the carpet and here, he's only interested in Harry.
And now the internet has the one thing it always wants. A frame that can be turned into a much bigger story. The brutal part is how unnecessary it all looked. This was supposed to be one of the safest celebrity rooms Meghan could walk into. David Foster and Catherine McPhee were not random strangers. There was history between the two couples. Catherine and Meghan had a connection going back to school. David had been helpful to Harry and Meghan during their time in Canada.
David Foster Foundation paid for the expenses, the entire expenses of Harry and Meghan while in Canada. They were flown by private plane. The hotel they stayed at was paid for by the David Foster Foundation. And let me tell you, they don't come cheap because Meghan Markle, as usual, is asking for insane demands.
The couples were photographed together in California. This was not supposed to look tense, unfamiliar, or socially confusing. Yet put all four of them on one red carpet and suddenly every few seconds seemed to produce another question. Who is greeting whom? Who is being guided into the photo? Why is Meghan moving people around? Why does David appear to walk past her? Why is Harry getting the smile? Why is Catherine ending up behind Meghan while Meghan turns toward David? One awkward clip can be bad timing. Two start to create a pattern in people's minds, whether that pattern is fair or not.
It's rude, but we've seen Meghan have a lack of manners across multiple events and multiple people. I mean, she even turned her back on the Queen. So Meghan does not have, I would say, great social skills. She knows where the camera is. All she cares about is her shot and is she in view.
And look at how strange that pattern becomes when you put the two moments side by side. In one clip, Meghan appears to be the person reaching and getting nothing back. In the other, Catherine appears to be the person losing space, while Meghan turns toward David. Meghan goes from looking excluded to looking like the one doing the excluding.
You just bring yourself down to earth.
That reversal is exactly why the gala has become such irresistible internet material. There is no single clean story. Every angle seems to contradict the last one. If David truly wanted to embarrass Meghan, his explanation makes little sense. If Meghan was simply helping with the group photo, the dramatic snub disappears. But if everything was completely normal, why are there so many frames that look anything but normal? That is the question keeping the footage alive.
Really? Really? That's the
I know,
best you
and-
can come up with. What?
And this was because they were not happy, Harry and Meghan were not happy about the fact that all of the headlines from the event, the mainstream media headlines from the event, were all Meghan is snubbed on the red carpet
They've
by
gotta
a
do a
Hollywood
clapback.
A-lister.
And remember, this was not some chaotic arrival outside a nightclub. This was a polished charity event with experienced celebrities standing in front of professional cameras. These people know red carpets. Meghan certainly knows red carpets. David and Catherine know them too. So when the positioning still produces a wife hidden behind another woman and a host apparently walking straight past a guest, viewers are going to assume there is more happening than simple confusion, even if there is not.
When I tell you that this woman loves to burn bridges because she had nothing to lose, she knows she's not coming back because David Foster is not doing these events anymore. This is the 40th year he's done this. Harry and Meghan have made a career of burning bridges.
And that is exactly why David's denial did not make the story disappear. If anything, it split the controversy in two. The first question was, did David Foster deliberately snub Meghan Markle?
Meghan Markle appears to have been snubbed by David Foster in a viral red carpet moment. Meghan appears to reach out her arm to him, but he walks straight past her. He then joins the photo and gives Harry a smile. Kinsey, are people reading too much into this? I think sometimes when it comes to Meghan, they're just wanting for her to fail because, well, she's so unlikable.
David's answer is basically no. The second question is, did Meghan behave awkwardly around David while sidelining Catherine? David's denial does not answer that at all. Those are completely separate moments. He can genuinely like Meghan and Harry. He can honestly say he never ignored her. Meghan can genuinely have been directing him toward the group photo rather than reaching for a handshake.
Attempting to direct people because, again, this is a film production of her life, guys. So she needs to direct people as to where to stand, because apparently a producer who is in his 70s and has been in the entertainment industry for years and years, and her friend who has also been in the entertainment industry for years and years, Catherine McPhee and Meghan Markle went to school together. He apparently doesn't know how to stand on the red carpet at his own event. He needs Meghan Markle to direct him because she's the ultimate director of life.
All of that can be true, and the Catherine footage can still look painfully rude when frozen at the wrong second. That is why this new angle is much harder to kill with one statement. You cannot release a clarification explaining what somebody else was thinking while turning her body on a carpet. You cannot issue a press line that changes where everyone was standing. The image is the image.
That does not look like an attempted handshake to me. Meghan looks like an air traffic controller trying to land David Foster in the group photo. She's gesturing towards the photo. He walks into the photo and then he smiles at Harry. There are plenty of legitimate awkward Meghan Markle moments.
Catherine appears partially obscured. Meghan is turned toward David, and viewers are going to decide for themselves what they think that body language means. Some will see nothing. A crowded carpet, a split-second movement. 4 people trying to get into position while photographers shout from every direction.
It's like, when do you learn? You don't have to arrange everyone on the red carpet in front of the banks of cameras and then do that ludicrous fake laugh when we have just seen the real you moments earlier.
Others see a woman taking control of the interaction, placing herself between a husband and wife, and focusing on the husband while the wife gets pushed out of the visual. That second interpretation is exactly what dragged the old flirting chatter back into the conversation. Again, the footage does not prove Meghan was flirting with David Foster. That would be a much stronger claim than these images can support. But it absolutely explains why the accusation came roaring back.
They said that David Foster was talking to Harry about something incredibly serious, about some children and some parents who had lost children. And you can see Harry and David Foster, they look serious. They don't look like they're laughing or smiling about anything. Meghan Markle has this idiotic permanent grin, which is creepy. And of course, she saw the camera. And what does she do? She reached out. Why is this woman smiling like an idiot? Does she not understand that that is just not done? She has zero sympathy for anybody.
The visual practically hands critics the story they already wanted to tell. And Meghan has a bigger problem here than one bad frame. For years, people have watched her public appearances, like choreography. They notice when she reaches for Harry. They notice when she moves herself toward the center. They notice when she guides someone with a hand or an arm. They notice when she seems aware of where the camera is. Fairly or unfairly, she has built a public image where every tiny movement gets read as deliberate. That means she gets very little benefit of the doubt when something looks controlling.
It feels to me, and this isn't just about Canada, it's also about Portugal, it's also about Scotland. It feels to me that Harry and Meghan are devastated that the paparazzi have just given up, that they're not interested enough, they can't deal with the bullshit, they don't want to be sued, there's not a big enough price tag. So what Harry and Meghan now do, wherever they travel over the world, is they drop hints, they drop crumbs. It's a bit like Taylor Swift when she's putting out the little guessing games in regards to a new album.
If another celebrity accidentally steps in front of someone, viewers might shrug and move on. When Meghan does it, people immediately ask whether she was positioning herself. If someone keeps walking past another person on a carpet, it can be normal event chaos. If it happens to Meghan, it becomes a snub. If she turns toward another woman's husband and the wife vanishes behind her, suddenly the conversation jumps straight to flirting.
But you can see that there is no eye contact. There is nothing there. In fact, David Foster was livid. But at the end of the day, Meghan always gets her man or woman. She always manages to get herself invited somewhere, and she will make it all about her.
That is the danger of being watched this closely. But it is also why this gala became such a disaster online. The night itself had everything the hosts would have wanted people discussing. A major anniversary, celebrities, performances, fundraising, and millions raised for families dealing with life-saving organ transplants. That should have been the story. Instead, the internet got Meghan's arm, a hand movement, a turn of the body, a blocked face, a man walking into a photo, a smile toward Harry. That was enough to swallow the entire glamorous event.
The only reason you're there is because you're royal. The only reason they got the invitation is that David Foster and Catherine knew that they invited Harry and Meghan, they would get more headlines, and that's what they wanted, and that's what they got, and that's all they cared about. Harry and Meghan have nothing to offer except for that royal piece, and they exploit it quite a bit.
And once people started replaying the footage, the details only became more uncomfortable. Go back to the first viral moment. Meghan extends her arm as David approaches. At first glance, it looks like she expects him to stop. He does not. He keeps moving into the group and then turns toward Harry with a smile. If you stop the video right there, it is almost a perfect humiliation clip. It looks like Meghan is trying to get his attention, and he is simply not interested.
When you look at David's reaction alone with Harry on the carpet, Harry is the reason why they are there. And that's because David Foster, like a lot of these big celebrities and A-listers, had a lot of respect for Princess Diana, much like John Travolta. So this is Harry's free pass. And no matter what people think of Harry, this will be his free pass for the rest of his life, because a lot of people won't be able to get near Prince William for a variety of reasons, because he sees through what this is really about. It's about drawing attention, having that royal stardust.
But watch it as a positioning gesture, and the whole scene changes. Meghan may simply be directing David where to stand. He follows the movement, steps into place, and there is no rejection at all. David's later explanation supports that calmer interpretation because he says the greeting had already happened earlier. So, the dramatic claim that David intentionally walked past Meghan to embarrass her now looks much weaker.
And she's overacting as she always does. This is a reason why she was just a middling success in the entertainment industry. She's profoundly overacting. It comes across as incredibly fake.
But here is the problem. People did not invent the awkwardness out of nothing. The footage looked awkward because the body language was easy to misread. That is why it spread. If the interaction had looked completely natural, nobody would have needed to explain it afterward. And then, just as David closes down one humiliating interpretation, Catherine's moment takes over. That is almost worse for Meghan, because now the focus moves from "was she rejected?" to "what was she doing?"
She just needs to go and stand and smile and avoid this awkwardness in front of banks of cameras. When a picture tells the real story, the Fosters cannot stand Meghan and Harry.
Instead of Meghan being the person supposedly ignored, she becomes the person accused of pushing someone else out. And not just anyone, David Foster's wife. That is what gives the clip its sting. Imagine the exact same body movement with a random guest standing behind Meghan. Nobody cares. But Catherine is the woman married to the man Meghan is turning toward. She is also connected to Meghan personally.
I mean, it's so annoying to see that laugh because, like, I think you're right. I think she genuinely thinks we don't see through it at this point. But there is no more fake person in the world than Meghan Markle. She looks incredibly fake and contrived. And the more she tries to emulate warmth, the less you believe it.
She is not a stranger wandering into the wrong photo. She belongs in that interaction just as much as anyone else there. So when the frame makes her look like the extra, people notice. Was Meghan intentionally blocking her? There is no way to know from a still image. Catherine could have stepped back at the wrong second. Meghan could have been trying to pull David into position. The carpet could have been noisy and chaotic. A photograph can capture an ugly fraction of a second that felt completely normal in real time. But Meghan knows better than almost anyone what cameras do to fractions of a second.
Then this was the Instagram story she posted during the auction.
Here's how I can help you. I got $50,000 to bid now. Now it's $60,000 now. I got $55,000 currently bid. Everybody, come on, bid cards up now. I need $60,000.
I think Harry's awkward smile really said it all. It's like he's looking very unhappy. Look at that. And then he realizes, oh gosh, she is recording me again. I better smile.
That is why viewers are asking why she was so actively managing the shot in the first place. She does not appear passive in these clips. She is moving, turning, signaling, and organizing. One viewer will call that helpful, Another will call it controlling. But either way, it makes her part of the mechanics of the awkward image rather than someone who simply happened to be standing there. And once that happens, every old story becomes useful again. People remember the dinners. They remember the friendly connection between the couples. They remember David's role during Harry and Meghan's Canadian chapter. They remember Catherine speaking about knowing Meghan from school. They remember seeing the four of them presented as friendly. Then, they look at this gala and ask why a supposedly comfortable friendship produced so much weird body language in such a short amount of time.
They're just there for kind of the shock value. They're not really there because anybody actually wants them there. And the performance with the bagpipers is just the worst example of that.
That does not mean there is some secret feud. Adults can go years without being photographed together and still be friends. Celebrity relationships do not need constant public proof. There is no solid reason to declare that David, Catherine, Harry, and Meghan secretly hate one another. But the carpet certainly did not make them look effortless. And that is the real story now.
How tacky. Not bidding for the gala, not helping towards fundraising, but filming your place settings for social media content. I swear she's mentally stuck at the age of 12, just like Harry. And I mean, I felt this. Look at this, when she was awkwardly dancing and actually hollering during an Adam Levine performance, just making sure everyone's actually watching her.
Not a proven flirtation, not a proven rejection, not a secret war. A night full of visuals that looked just strange enough to create all three theories. David's response clears up one part of it. He says he did not snub Meghan. He says they had already greeted each other. That matters. It is strong evidence against the idea that he deliberately humiliated her in front of the cameras. But his explanation cannot erase what people saw around Catherine, and the contrast is almost ridiculous. David is essentially saying, there was no drama.
Meghan, look at this. She just can't help directing traffic on a red carpet, can she? When will she learn?
And of course, David Foster has been in the entertainment industry for years. I'm sure he knows how to stand on a red carpet. Meghan Markle doesn't need to help him. Catherine McPhee, she got quite famous through American Idol and beyond that, and she definitely does not need Meghan Markle's help because Catherine has actual talent and Meghan has none.
Meanwhile, viewers are staring at his wife half hidden behind Meghan and asking why Meghan's attention appears to be fixed on him. One fire gets put out. Another starts right beside it. That is why this gala refuses to die online. At first, Meghan looked rejected. Then people argued she was not reaching for a handshake at all. Then David himself denied the snub. That should have been the end. Instead, a different clip gives the entire story a second life and turns the attention toward Catherine.
I have to be honest, like, the imagery that Meghan chose to put out, I don't think she realizes that we just totally see through her act now, like this, with the sexy bagpipe troupe.
I love bagpipes.
This is great. So we're mine.
Yeah.
Pipes and drums. Pipes and drums. It's pipes and drums. Just to be clear.
Before we continue, one quick thing. One thing I've realized is that most families don't have their important information organized in one place. That's exactly why I recommend the Family Vault, a simple, printable, and fillable organizer where you can keep everything from important documents and insurance to medical information, passwords. You'll find the link in the description, or you can simply scan the QR code on your screen. Now let's get back to today's story. Now the question is not simply whether David ignored Meghan. It is whether Meghan made the interaction look awkward all by herself. And for someone whose public appearances are constantly analyzed for control, that is a much more dangerous conversation. Because if Meghan was simply trying to help organize the group, she still managed to create the exact kind of visual people use against her. Her body blocks Catherine, her arm comes across the frame, her attention turns toward David. The wife looks pushed to the side.
There's a sickness with her. There's something off with her.
And if she can't have her moment alone on the red carpet, because yes, she asked to be alone on the red carpet, you know, she's gonna screw everybody else's.
Even an innocent explanation does not make the freeze frame flattering. Maybe that is all this was, a terrible freeze frame. Maybe Catherine moved at precisely the wrong moment. Maybe Meghan was trying to bring David closer to the photographers. Maybe everyone was talking over each other and nobody in the group thought anything was weird until the internet slowed it down frame by frame. That is completely possible. But once the footage exists, intention almost becomes secondary to perception. And perception is brutal here.
Meghan Markle has an extreme case of main character syndrome, basically a situation where somebody thinks they are the main player, the protagonist in the story of their lives and the lives of everyone around them.
Meghan Markle took full advantage of it.
A charity gala turns into a red carpet soap opera. A friendly couple becomes part of an old flirting rumor. A host has to publicly explain why he did not reject Meghan. His wife ends up at the center of a second controversy. Harry is standing nearby while strangers analyze who got the warmer smile. All of it from seconds of footage. That is the kind of chaos no publicist can fully control once the cameras catch it. So where does this leave the whole thing?
And unfortunately, performances like this are becoming more and more grating on the public day after day. And Meghan Markle would be so much better served to not wear a toga that looks like she has a dirty diaper and instead actually embrace her vain, vapid, and shallowness and not try to wrap it in altruism.
David Foster's explanation makes the original snub theory much less convincing. If he had already greeted Meghan and Harry, then him continuing into the group shot makes perfect sense. Meghan's arm can easily be read as a signal rather than a failed attempt to get a greeting. But the Catherine moment remains awkward because there is no simple factual explanation that tells us why the positioning looked that way. We can say, what is visible? Catherine becomes partially blocked. Meghan turns toward David. Meghan appears active in directing the group. That is it.
Harry and Meghan in particular, her incessant need to kind of try to manage things is just insane to me.
Anything beyond that, flirting, jealousy, hostility, is interpretation. But those interpretations are not going away, because this is exactly the kind of visual that keeps them alive. And maybe that is the biggest humiliation of the night. Meghan did not have to make a controversial speech. She did not have to give an interview. She did not have to say anything at all. A few seconds of body language were enough. So what do you think actually happened on that carpet? Was Meghan simply directing a chaotic group photo and getting ripped apart for a harmless gesture? Did Catherine just step into the worst possible position at the worst possible second? Or did Meghan's behavior genuinely look rude enough that people were always going to question why she seemed so focused on David? And after David Foster finally spoke out, is the original snub story dead? Or do you still think that walk past moment looked colder than he wants people to believe? Drop your take below, because David may have answered one question from this gala, but the footage has created an entirely different one right beside it.